The Green Mile cast reveals what most fans never figured out. It's been called one of the greatest Stephen King adaptations ever made, a film so profoundly moving that even the toughest viewers admit to shedding tears, a story that somehow made us fall in love with a man on death row. The Green Mile. For millions of movie lovers, this tale of supernatural healing, injustice, and redemption ranks among the most emotionally devastating films ever created. But what if I told you that beneath its familiar surface lies a world of secrets that even the most dedicated fans have never uncovered? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on the Green Mile's most closely guarded mysteries, revelations straight from the cast and crew who brought this beloved story to life, the hidden meanings, the on-set revelations, the symbolic details placed throughout the film that completely transform how you understand Paul Edgecombe's journey. From Hanks's surprising confessions about his character's spiritual journey, to the remarkable transformation of Michael Clarke Duncan as John Coffey, to the scenes that would have given the film an entirely different meaning. This is the untold story of the Green Mile. And I promise you this, by the time we're done, you'll never see the Green Mile the same way again. The film that almost wasn't. Before we dive into the cast's revelation, we need to understand something remarkable. The Green Mile almost never made it to theaters at all. After the commercial disappointment of The Shawshank Redemption, yes, believe it or not, that film was initially considered a box office failure, director Frank Darabont was hesitant to adapt another Stephen King prison story. Studios were equally skeptical, questioning whether audiences would sit through a 3-hour death row drama. Tom Hanks's involvement was crucial to getting the film greenlit. His star power after Forrest Gump and Saving Private Ryan made studios pay attention, but even then, he pushed the film's runtime significantly. What few people realize is that Darabont took an enormous risk by refusing to compromise on the film's length. He understood that the story needed every minute of its runtime to develop its characters and emotional impact properly. This stubborn dedication to artistic integrity set the stage for what would become one of Hollywood's most emotionally resonant films, a story that needed every minute of its runtime to work its magic on our hearts. The Prison That Made the Mile. One of the most crucial elements in creating the film's authentic atmosphere was the decision to build the entire death row set from scratch. Unlike The Shawshank Redemption, which filmed in a real prison, The Green Mile required a customized environment that could accommodate the specific needs of the story. Production designer Terrence Marsh, who had previously won Oscars for Dr. Zhivago and Oliver, constructed the mile with historical precision. The green linoleum that gives the mile its name was exactly the shade used in southern prisons of that era. Even the wiring and light fixtures were period authentic. David Morse, who played Brutus Brutal Howell, has discussed how the meticulously designed set affected the cast's performances. That set was something else. The Green Mile corridor itself was designed to create a sense of mounting dread the further you walked down it. The cells got darker, the lighting more ominous. The set wasn't just a backdrop, it became a character in the film. The production team even constructed a fully functional electric chair, nicknamed Old Sparky, that could simulate the execution sequences with terrifying realism. Special effects coordinator Charles Gibson built the chair with the ability to create controlled smoke and lighting effects that made the execution scenes disturbingly realistic. Sam Rockwell, who played Wild Bill Wharton, has noted that the execution scenes created a uniquely tense atmosphere on set. For Dell's botched execution, multiple cameras were used to capture the scene in as few takes as possible, as the prosthetic effects and pyrotechnics were both expensive and emotionally taxing for the cast and crew. The cast has revealed that Frank Darabont actually allowed them to experience the cell block in complete silence before filming began. For an entire afternoon, the actors were assigned to their characters' positions, guards at their posts, prisoners in their cells, and told to simply exist in the space without speaking. This exercise helped them internalize the weight and routine of prison life that would inform their performances. The characters behind the characters. What many viewers don't realize is that each of the main actors developed extensive backstories for their characters, details never explicitly mentioned in the film, but which informed every gesture, every line reading. Tom Hanks has discussed how he created a personal history for Paul Edgecombe that went far beyond the film's narrative. He envisioned Paul as a man who had seen combat in World War I, which explained his fundamental decency and his disturbed reaction to Percy's cruelty. It reminded him of the senseless violence he had witnessed in war. Michael Clarke Duncan prepared for John Coffey's character by visiting hospitals and studying people who needed care. This research informed Duncan's performance in subtle ways most viewers never consciously subconsciously register. When John Coffey is in his cell, Duncan kept his body language childlike, vulnerable. But in moments of healing or power, like when he cures Paul's infection, his posture becomes more confident, more divine. Doug Hutchison, who played Percy Wetmore, has shared that he based the character's sadism on a childhood bully, channeling that specific personality into his performance. Its personal connection, Percy's cruelty, an authentic quality that makes viewers' skin crawl. These character backgrounds represent how the actors infused their roles with personal connections and detailed research that transformed The Green Mile from a supernatural prison drama into something far more human. The hidden meanings most fans never catch. The Green Mile is layered with symbolism that most viewers, even devoted fans, completely miss on their first several viewings. Cast and crew have revealed some of these hidden meanings in interviews over the years. Pay attention to the color green in the film. It's not just the floor of the mile. Green appears whenever death is near. The curtains in the execution chamber, Dell's sponge that should have been soaked in brine, even the reflection in Wild Bill's eyes when he first arrives. This visual motif appears dozens of times throughout the film, but registers only subconsciously for most viewers. The healing scenes in the film carry deeper meaning as well. When John Coffey cures Paul's urinary infection and Melinda Moore's brain tumor, it's not just about physical healing. Everyone John heals undergoes a spiritual transformation too. Paul begins questioning his role in executions. Melinda regains not just health but innocence, speaking to John like a child recognizing another child. John is healing souls, not just bodies. The film contains numerous biblical references that enrich its themes. When John says, "I'm tired, boss, tired of being on the road, lonely as a sparrow in the rain," it echoes Psalm 102. "I am like a desert owl, like an owl among the ruins. I lie awake. I have become like a bird alone on a roof." This connection transforms John from a simple magical character into a Christ-like figure, abandoned and suffering. With this understanding, seemingly small moments take on profound significance. When the guards remove John's chains during the execution, it visually parallels Christ being taken down from the cross. When Paul asks John what he should do, and John simply answers, "You be still," it echoes biblical language of surrender to divine will. The mouse, more than meets the eye. Perhaps no element of The Green Mile is more beloved than Mr. Jingles, the seemingly immortal mouse who becomes Edouard Delacroix's companion. But this tiny character serves a much deeper purpose than mere comic relief. The mouse is essentially the moral compass of the entire film. Notice who shows kindness to him and who doesn't. It's the first test of character we see. Dell, for all his crimes, shows gentleness to this small creature. Percy tries to kill it simply because he can. Paul initially wants to ignore it, but eventually makes a choice to protect it. That choice foreshadows his later decision to help John Coffey. Mr. Jingles serves as a test case for the film's central question. Do the vulnerable deserve protection, even at personal cost? Every character answers that question in their treatment of the mouse, long before they have to answer it regarding John Coffey. This carefully planned symbolism gives new meaning to the film's epilogue, where we learn that Mr. Jingles has lived for decades beyond a normal mouse's lifespan. Like Paul, he carries the blessing and curse of John Coffey's touch, a reminder of supernatural grace in an otherwise ordinary world. The weather as storytelling. One of the most subtle yet effective techniques in The Green Mile is how the film uses weather to tell its story. The weather outside the prison reflects what's happening emotionally inside. The night of Dell's botched execution, there's a violent thunderstorm. The day John confesses the truth to Paul, it's unnaturally still and quiet. In contrast, John's execution takes place on a clear, moonlit night, nature at its most serene and beautiful, matching the peaceful acceptance John has reached. Most significantly, when Paul visits Coffey's grave in the epilogue, we see the first genuinely sunny day in the entire film. The final cemetery scene is the only one with truly beautiful weather. Every other outdoor scene has clouds, rain, or is shot at night. The sun doesn't truly shine until Paul has carried the burden of his story for decades and finally shares it. This visual storytelling technique works so subtly that most viewers never consciously notice it, yet it affects the emotional tenor of every scene. The prison exists in a perpetual state of gloom, while peace, true peace, is bathed in sunlight. John Coffey's fear of the dark. For many fans, the moment John Coffey confesses his fear of the dark before his execution represents the emotional climax of the film.
I was afraid of the dark.
This powerful moment comes directly from Stephen King's novel, where Coffey's fear of the dark is explicitly described. What makes this scene so effective is how it humanizes John Coffey. Despite his supernatural gifts and Christ-like qualities, he experiences a very human fear that connects with audiences on a profound level. The gentle giant who can heal others still needs human compassion himself. This aspect of John's character transforms how we understand the guard's final gesture of not placing the traditional hood over John's face during the execution. It's not just protocol being broken, it's an act of profound mercy toward a man afraid of the dark. The Percy-Wild Bill connection. One of the most disturbing relationships in The Green Mile is between Percy Wetmore and Wild Bill Wharton. The two characters represent different kinds of evil. The institutional kind, represented by Percy with his political connections, and the chaotic kind represented by Wild Bill. The interaction where Wild Bill grabs Percy and whispers obscenities to him, traumatizing him into later freezing during Dell's execution, creates a crucial link between these two antagonists. Similarly, the karmic justice of Percy being driven insane by the evil that Wild Bill had breathed into John Coffey creates a poetic closing of their narrative circle. Studio executives reportedly pushed to reduce Percy's role, arguing that he distracted from the main story. Darabont understood that without showing this more mundane, bureaucratic evil alongside Wild Bill's violent chaos, John's execution wouldn't carry the same moral weight. We needed to see how systems protect the Percy Wetmores of the world while condemning the John Coffeys. This context makes Percy's ultimate fate, catatonic in a mental institution, even more poignant. The man who abused his power so cruelly ends up as helpless as his former prisoners, protected only by the same system he once exploited. The miracle in The Green Mile, not what you think. While most viewers assume the primary miracle in the film is John Coffey's healing power, there's a much more nuanced interpretation to consider. The real miracle isn't John's supernatural abilities, it's the moral awakening he creates in Paul and the other guards. These men start the film as cogs in a killing machine, just doing their jobs. By the end, they're willing to risk everything, their careers, their freedom, potentially their lives, try to save an innocent man. This understanding transforms the film from a supernatural drama into something far more profound, a meditation on how, even within the most rigid systems, human conscience can awaken and lead to moral courage. John finds his own miracle as well. He finds men willing to treat him with dignity and believe in his innocence, even if they can't save him. After a lifetime of being feared and misunderstood, he experiences compassion. That's no small thing. This layered understanding of miracles helps explain why the film has resonated so deeply with audiences. It's not just a story about supernatural healing, it's about the miracle of moral awakening in ordinary people, the capacity to recognize injustice and refuse to participate in it, even at personal cost. The famous ending, almost completely different. Perhaps the most significant revelation about The Green Mile's production is that it almost had an entirely different ending. The powerful epilogue showing an aged Paul Edgecombe, still alive decades later due to John's touch, was nearly left on the cutting room floor. Studio executives reportedly pushed to end the film with John's execution. They argued that the epilogue with the elderly Paul living at a nursing home was unnecessary and that the film was already too long. But Darabont fought for that epilogue because the film isn't ultimately about death. It's about living with the consequences of our choices. Without seeing Paul decades later, still haunted by the execution of an innocent man, the audience would miss the true weight of the story. Interestingly, the scenes with older Paul were actually the first things shot during production. This created the emotional framework for the entire film, allowing the story to be told through the lens of memory and regret. The executives' desire to cut these scenes seems unfathomable now, given how perfectly they complete the story. Without that ending, The Green Mile would be a different film altogether, a film about a magical healing rather than a meditation on mortality, guilt, and the high cost of taking part in evil, even unintentionally. The scenes you never saw. While The Green Mile's 3-hour runtime allowed Darabont to include most of his vision, several scenes were reportedly left on the cutting room floor. According to cast and crew interviews, though never officially released, these deleted moments would have provided additional context to key characters and relationships. Among these reported deleted scenes was an extended sequence showing Paul Edgecombe's first day on the job at Cold Mountain Penitentiary. This would have established that Paul had never worked on death row before, making his moral journey even more pronounced. We would have seen this idealistic young man slowly realizing what his job would actually require of him. Another reported deletion involved more scenes with Jan Edgecombe, Paul's wife, played by Bonnie Hunt. These would have shown how Paul's experiences on the mile affected his home life and relationship, explaining subtle tensions in their scenes together, particularly when Paul first mentions John Coffey. For fans of the Green Mile, these reported missing pieces add another layer of interest to an already rich cinematic experience, possibility of narrative paths not taken and character dimensions not fully explored in the final cut. Michael Clarke Duncan, from bodyguard to Oscar nominee. The story of Michael Clarke Duncan's journey to playing John Coffey represents one of Hollywood's most remarkable transformations, from celebrity bodyguard to Academy Award nominee in just a few short years. Before The Green Mile, Duncan's life couldn't have been further from Oscar ceremonies and red carpets. Standing 6 feet 5 inches and weighing nearly 300 pounds, he had worked as a ditch digger in Chicago and later as a bouncer and bodyguard for celebrities, including Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. His acting resume consisted of small roles as bouncers, security guards, and intimidating background characters. The casting of John Coffey was a monumental challenge. The character required not just physical presence, but an ability to project both childlike innocence and otherworldly wisdom. Duncan almost didn't audition for the role. His manager had to convince him to try out, as Duncan believed he wasn't actor enough for such a complex character. The audition itself has become Hollywood legend. Duncan was reportedly so nervous that he struggled with his lines, but when he delivered John Coffey's iconic "I'm tired of people being ugly to each other" monologue, the room fell silent. Darabont later said he knew immediately they had found John Coffey. To prepare for the role, Duncan worked with acting coach Larry Moss, famous for preparing numerous actors for transformative roles. He studied people who needed care, observed children to capture their unguarded reactions, and developed a softer physicality than his previous intimidating roles required. When filming began, Duncan still struggled with confidence. Tom Hanks became an impromptu mentor, offering guidance between takes and helping Duncan navigate his first major film role. When the film was released, critics who had never heard of Michael Clarke Duncan were stunned by his performance. He received Academy Award and Golden Globe nominations for Best Supporting Actor, an almost unprecedented achievement for someone with such limited prior acting experience. Though Duncan ultimately lost the Oscar to Michael Caine for The Cider House Rules, the nomination transformed his career and life. He went on to appear in major films including The Whole Nine Yards, Planet of the Apes, The Scorpion King, and Daredevil, never again playing unnamed security guards or bouncers. The transformation of Michael Clarke Duncan from bodyguard to Oscar nominee remains one of cinema's most inspiring stories, a testament to hidden talent, unexpected opportunities, and the courage to step into greatness when the moment arrives. The film's second life. The Green Mile's box office performance was respectable but not spectacular. Opening in December 1999, it earned $136 million domestically, a solid return on its $60 million budget, but not the blockbuster numbers some had expected from a Tom Hanks film. The film found its true audience through home video and cable television. It's the kind of movie that, when people discover it, they immediately want to share it with someone they care about. It spread through word of mouth, becoming one of the most watched films on cable television and a consistent bestseller in the DVD market. A film about patience, about taking the long view, needed patience from audiences. It's not a movie you watch casually. It demands your full emotional attention. That's not always what people want in theaters, but at home, they give themselves permission to be vulnerable. By 2020, the film had firmly established itself in the canon of modern American classics, frequently appearing on lists of the most emotionally impactful films ever made. What began as a risky adaptation had achieved something far more significant than mere box office success. It had become part of America's cultural heritage. The legacy, why The Green Mile endures. As The Green Mile approaches its 25th anniversary, the question arises, why has this particular film maintained such a powerful hold on audiences when other critically acclaimed dramas have faded from memory? The Green Mile speaks to something universal: fear of death, our hope for miracles, our desire to believe that even the most broken systems might still allow for moments of grace and humanity. And it offers no easy answers to the moral questions it raises. The film doesn't preach. It doesn't tell you what to think about capital punishment or spirituality or racial injustice. It shows you a story that touches on all those things and trusts you to wrestle with the implications. That's why it stays with people. It respects the audience's intelligence. This nuanced approach to profound themes, justice, mortality, faith, redemption, elevates The Green Mile above simple inspirational storytelling. It acknowledges the full complexity of the human condition while ultimately affirming our capacity for compassion and moral courage. The Green Mile is about what can't be taken from us, our essential humanity, our ability to choose compassion even within broken systems, our capacity to recognize injustice and stand against it, however imperfectly. As long as people grapple with these issues, this story will resonate. In a world where commercial entertainment often seems disposable, The Green Mile stands as a reminder that sometimes the stories that find the deepest place in our hearts are the ones that dare to confront us with difficult moral questions and trust us to find our own answers. The Green Mile reminds us why we fall in love with movies in the first place. It's not just entertainment, it's a mirror that reflects our deepest struggles and highest aspirations. Through examining its careful craftsmanship, we can appreciate what makes this film a modern masterpiece. From the meticulously designed prison set to the carefully crafted character journeys, from the thoughtful visual symbolism to Michael Clarke Duncan's transformative performance, every aspect of The Green Mile was created with remarkable intention. Yet it never feels constructed. It feels discovered, as though Darabont and his team didn't create this story so much as uncover it. Perhaps that's why the film has maintained such power over audiences for nearly a quarter century. It doesn't feel like a movie. It feels like truth dressed in the clothes of fiction. As John Coffey tells Paul, "You be kind to them, each and every one. That's your job." If you've enjoyed these insights into The Green Mile, I invite you to experience the film again with fresh eyes. Look for the green color motif we've discussed. Notice how the weather reflects the emotional journey. Pay attention to Mr. Jingles and how each character's treatment of him foreshadows their moral choices. Most importantly, share this film with someone who hasn't seen it. There's something magical about watching someone experience The Green Mile for the first time, witnessing their discovery of a story that has touched so many lives. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into cinema's greatest treasures. Hit the notification bell so you never miss our uploads. And leave a comment below telling us what you think is the most powerful moment in The Green Mile. Until next time, remember, we each owe a death, there are no exceptions. But sometimes, oh God, The Green Mile seems so long.